Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As the thumbnail says, we're finally going to get started on my IS300 manual swap. I've been collecting the parts for this swap for the better part of 2.5 years, ever since I got this IS300, and now we're going to finally actually start the actual swap and getting into it. I've already done parts and pieces of it if you've been following my channel, so you can check all those links out down in the video description. I'll have all the links to the various things I've done so far to get to this point in the swap. So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and take everything apart, drop the automatic transmission, so stay tuned. So as I mentioned in the intro, I've been doing this swap and I've been doing various pieces of it over the years. And for the detailed removal of the automatic transmission with all the nuts and bolts and all the details, go ahead and check out one of my older videos where I actually did it on my back with jack stands, which is going to be the case for most of you guys doing this swap. As you can see, now I have a lift in my home garage where I could do it much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and just time lapse all this removal stuff and getting everything out. I'll stop periodically to kind of explain to you guys what I'm doing to show you the little nuances of pulling it out. But if you really want to get in depth with it, check out one of my older videos. I'll have the links down in the description. Alright, as you guys can see, I took apart the axle and all this stuff back here in preparation of getting everything up front here. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and drop all this down. Go ahead, I already took off all the engine covers underneath the plastic so I can access everything. The biggest pain in the ass, if you guys saw my original video on doing this, was unbolting this transmission line right here and just getting the access to those bolts. I think those are like 19 millimeters. I think the first time I did this, that back one right there was the biggest pain in the ass. You can see how twisted and how mangled up that tube is when I was trying to put that back in just to get it right. But luckily this time I don't have to worry about reusing it, so I'm gonna go ahead and just take that off as quick and easy as I can. It's a big pain in the ass. So like I said earlier, if you wanna see the actual removal of the transmission, I have a very good video from 2 years ago when I did all that rear main seal stuff back here, so you go check out that video. For this, I'm gonna just go ahead and time lapse everything like I said at the beginning of the video, so that way we just get through this. Luckily the last time I did this, I also left the 2 top bolts for the transmission bell housing off. I knew those were gonna be a big ass pain, and initially when you do this, that's the biggest pain to get out because you basically have to drop the engine, unbolt the mounts and everything, and try to tilt the engine back to access those 2. But I left those off so I could easily take it off this time. In addition, we're gonna have to take apart this exhaust right here, the rest of it, take that off. The header and the manifold into the head, I think I just loosened that so I could actually have some wiggle room back here. Other than that, everything else is pretty straightforward in dropping it. But like I said earlier, check out that other video if you want to see the detailed removal of the transmission. Alright, I was able to take off that mid-pipe exhaust right here from the header back to get more room over here. Now I have access to these lines right here. So these lines are a big ass pain in the ass to actually take out. In the past, I was able to save them when I dropped it down to do the rear main seal, but this time I can't get this nut loose right here, and then that one's getting all twisted, as you guys can see right there. So I'm gonna just go ahead and just cut these lines since I won't need them anymore for my swap. If you're not gonna put the automatic transmission in, you don't really need these lines for the cooler anymore, so we're just just head and just cut that out. And once we do that, we should have enough room. I'm gonna go ahead and just drop everything. And I also have a video about showing how to take this thing off too, because most of you will probably have a bunch of rusted bolts. That's a big old pain in the ass to take that mid pipe off. So we were able to unbolt all the bell housing bolts off the engine, take the starter out. I was able to disconnect the dipstick right here that attaches to the underside of the intake manifold and take that off, the second half of the dipstick. I undid all the harnesses, so pretty much we've got everything out. You can see that hose that I cut right there. I just ended up putting another hose so it didn't leak everywhere, and we're good now. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead, basically use my cart over there and then lower the lift, unbolt the 4 bolts for the bracket back there, and the transmission should lower straight down. I already took out all the flywheel bolts inside also, so this thing is actually just sitting free right now and it's just being held against the actual engine, and it could actually fall out, but it won't fall out because of the back bracket. But we'll go ahead, put that over there, lower the lift down, and we'll see if we get this tranny out. Alright, we were able to drop the transmission onto this rack right here. And as you can see, there's a wire harness. So once you drop the transmission a little bit, whether you're doing this on your back or whatnot, you want to go ahead and unbolt the wire harnesses. They're usually 10 millimeters over here and then over here and then up top and then on the other side to make sure it clears. Other than that, everything else should be pretty much clear. You can see the front here, the torque converter dropped off the flywheel, so we're clear up here, and I think it clears the exhaust already. So right now that I've loosened everything and I made sure that there's nothing else holding it up, I'm gonna go ahead and just lift it all the way up, and this thing should stay right here on the cart. As you guys can see, we were able to drop that transmission pretty easily. So now we've got this harness over here kind of hanging. So pretty much half this harness down here, the part that does all the solenoids, we're not going to be using anymore. The only tie we're going to be using is right here, which was into the gear shifter. We're going to have to hijack some of those wires to do our reverse lights, our neutral safety, and a few other things to route back inside, as I showed on a previous video when I was rewiring inside. So I was able to rewire and hijack some of these wires so we don't have to actually run wires back into the firewall, and I'll show you that wiring on the next episode actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and just stop here for this episode and removing this, and then when I move on to putting the clutch in and getting everything put together, I'll go ahead and start a new video on that. So as you can see, our rear main seal that I replaced about 5,000 miles ago is still clean as a whistle right there. No leaks or anything. There was a little bit of seepage that I saw over here around the edges. I don't know if that was just old oil or maybe oil from the bolts. So those 8 bolts that hold the plate to the actual crank, those bolts have to be coated with like a Loctite, and I reused the old ones after I changed it out, so I didn't recoat them, and I think I had a little bit of seepage leak through there. But other than that, my seal right there looks like it's nice and clean. There's no oil in here, and that change out of that rear main seal was perfect. Hey guys, thanks for joining me all the way to the end of this quick video on removing the transmission. As you can see, it takes a little bit of time just to get all the other stuff out of the way, like the under panels, the axle, the exhaust and everything. But once you do that and unbolt everything, it's pretty easy to pull out. If you saw one of my old videos, like I said earlier in the video, to check out, that those two top bolts on the automatic transmission are the biggest pain in the ass. Luckily, I didn't put them back the last time I put them in, so that way it made it easier this time to drop it. I've dropped this thing a few times already, so I'm pretty much a pro at it, and I could take it off pretty easily, and with this lift, it's much easier. As I mentioned, I'm gonna stop here for the day, but I'll continue on the swap with getting everything in there, and on those videos, I'll be much more detailed, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notifications to get notified every time I upload a video. Remember guys, for all these different projects, if I can do it, you guys can do it. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.